ya con nosotros a Rosa Casado y a Mike Brookes, pareja artística que nos van a ofrecer en este festival 321 una performance titulada What If Everything We Know Is Wrong, una performance que tiene mucho que ver con el sonido, que este año tiene un peso específico importante dentro del festival y que lo van a realizar los días 28 y 29 de mayo, es decir, mañana y pasado, a las 7 horas. Por situar un poquito a los dos artistas, ¿cómo podríamos presentarles, David?
Yo los podría presentar también como una pareja que siempre suma, no resta, es decir, Mike viene mucho más del ámbito de las artes plásticas, pero se ha aproximado a una parte de las artes plásticas más representativa, más casi de lo performativo. Y Rosa, tú originalmente vienes más del ámbito de las artes performativas y te has ido aproximando precisamente a ese ámbito un poco más de artes plásticas, cuando precisamente encontráis los dos ese punto común, ¿no? Where the contextual space is very important in your work. How do you work with the context and the symbols and the icons when you decide to prepare a work or a piece or a specific piece?
Okay. I think because this project, we could say it's site-specific in a way, because what we are doing is to bring another place to this place. So a place that exists in Wales, it's a little village in Wales, and we bring that place into here, yeah? So I guess here the context is much more the context in which we are not, I would say. Mm-hmm. So we are working with a context that is far away and we want to bring it into this context, and then to see bringing those two places together, this place and this context, with that other place and that other context, to see what happens if a new place emerges, or how people relate to that distant place, I guess. I don't know. So one of the things for the work we are doing here, What If Everything We Know Is Wrong, was about how to bring something that is not present, something that is absent, into presence, but without narrative and without visual things. Okay. And that's how the sound came into play. And so what we do is to rebuild that place from Wales with sounds into here. Okay. I don't know if that...
But it's not the first time you remade this piece, and if I remember, you have presented this piece in Artium, in Bat Festival maybe, and in Madrid also, in Pradillo Theatre. How do you feel with the different places or spaces and audiences in Spain? Mike, how do you feel these differences?
I think that, as Rosa started to say, I think the interesting thing with this piece is that we work very much within the place as we find it, and trying to make a meeting between the work and the people who come to share it with us there. So I think that place that we make with the specific place here in this room, just upstairs, and the place that we try and build within it, the conversation that happens with us, for us there with the people who come to share it, that's what's interesting, I think, for the room.
But this place is huge in comparison to Pradillo space. I guess you work in a different way if you have a big one venue or you have a very small one. No?
Yes, each of the spaces is different, But the place that we're bringing into this room upstairs is much bigger than any of the rooms that we've ever performed it in. So I think, that's also part of what's interesting, is the relationship between that, what is effectively a very large outside space, and these very particular built interior rooms that we meet people in.
But also,
No,
can
okay.
I? Okay. No, but also one thing that was very important with this piece of work was precisely that, to just have a bag of sounds and then step into a room, whatever the room was, and however big, small or whatever, and then to try to reveal that place from Wales. So what we have in mind, the reference, is the place in Wales.
Exactly. Okay.
And then we adapt that into whatever shape the room is in here. So I think, in a way, although spaces are very different, like the Teatro Pradillo, it's much smaller, it's very dark, the sound is much kind of like controllable, I guess, I don't know, because this room is very big. And still we're not using the whole room ourselves, although the sound fills the whole room. Yeah? So, but the reference and the balance is given by the place in Wales that we are trying to reveal. So it's the tension between the dimensions in which we are, like this room here, and that other place. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
But maybe the relationship with the public here will be more difficult because the space is bigger, or not? Or do you prefer to be closer to?
I think, well, I don't mind bigger spaces. I like when things are quite spread. I also like to be close to people, so I really don't have like an ideal, really. So I don't think in terms of, or we don't think in terms of easy and difficult, really. It's about just dealing with what is happening, and the work is very much about setting up situations. So situations are pretty much unpredictable, so we just try to be ready for whatever happens. And so what is difficult and what is easy is not a measure. Yeah, I think so.
Sí, en ese sentido, bueno, comentabas, Rosa, ¿verdad? Bueno, que la propuesta que traéis aquí, bueno, no es la primera vez que la traéis incluso aquí. ¿No? La intención es la de traer esa referencia de ese pueblo de Gales a otro espacio en el que, bueno, no hay en un principio nada de ese Gales, y poder rellenarlo o poder evocarlo, ¿no? En ese nuevo espacio que será la sala que tenemos justo aquí arriba. Y comentabas que las referencias, evidentemente, probablemente cuando hablemos de Gales o del Reino Unido, ¿verdad? Incluso los espectadores pueden tener más probablemente referencias visuales, ¿verdad? Que tenemos todos ya en nuestra cabeza algunas referencias visuales. En ese sentido, que vuestra referencia principal, la herramienta principal que tengáis sea el sonido, supongo que facilitará también, ¿no? el trabajo de traerlo y de evocarlo aquí.
Sí, de hecho, en parte del proceso de creación de la pieza, la idea era usar sonidos, pero también queríamos todo lo que no estaba presente, como por ejemplo árboles o fauna diferente, flores, sillas, bancos, cosas que no estaban presentes. Pensábamos en dibujarlo todo con tiza, entonces evocar todo eso, hacer un acto de representación puro y duro, ¿no? Pero claro, cuando empezamos a trabajar con el sonido, de repente el sonido abría un espacio mental muy grande, ¿no? Tú te ponías a escuchar y aunque no conozcas ese pueblo de Gales, en realidad a nivel acústico resulta un espacio muy familiar. Y aunque a lo mejor los pájaros no son los mismos pájaros que tenemos aquí, pero de repente entiendes que estás en un espacio natural, y al dibujar esos elementos con tiza, que fue como empezamos, todo se limitaba mucho. De repente ese espacio que se te abría a nivel mental, la imaginación, ¿no? Que podía, aunque nosotros digamos que es este sitio de Gales, en realidad cada uno tiene sus propias referencias, ¿no? de lugares, de memoria. Entonces, claro, al dibujarlo de repente limitaba eso mucho, ¿no? Y claro, el sonido es lo que tiene, ¿no? El sonido es a nivel visual y de visualizar un espacio y claro, te da toda la cancha, ¿no? Te abre toda la cabeza, ¿no? De repente es como boom, y vas a lo que tú puedes recordar y con lo que tú te puedes relacionar, ¿no?
In that sense, maybe Mike, we could say that this performance you're presenting here, it's absolutely, it needs absolutely the public. If not, if there's no one listening to that sounds and imagining what that place can be or what it is over the ocean, the performance indeed has nothing to do without that public that is imagining that, or maybe it has.
No, I don't think it has, but I think that's true of a lot of work. I mean, it's definitely true of all our work. It only ever happens, or it only ever becomes real in that moment when a group of people meet it. And actually, the point of the work is that situation where that meeting happens. So absolutely, if there's no one there to hear it, then there's nothing happening.
I'm thinking about the idea of recording your work, because when the performance is real, it happens in a concrete moment. How do you fix for documentation or for just historical documentation of your work, this kind of work of performing or live work?
Well, I think with this work particularly, it's quite difficult to give a sense of what it is, the situation, the situation is, and what the action is with video, for example. You know, so initially when we started to kind of, because I mean, in terms of documents, we have a lot of documents, which is all the sound, for example. Those are little fragments, and so actually the piece is built on documentation, because those sounds are documents of that place that we activate here. But in terms of documenting the piece of work that we made with those fragments, initially we decided to not film anything and just give a description of what we do and some photos of the place in Wales. But I think people don't get a very good sense of what the situation might be. So when we did it in Pradillo, they recorded the performance. And then you realize that it's not a work that in which you can't see anything. You don't see anything. You don't look at anything. You know what I mean? So and that gives a sense of what the situation might be. But acoustically, it's very difficult then, because the sound gets very flat. So it's a very complicated piece to document, actually.
I mean, this one's more difficult than any of the others, I think. I mean, I think we've made lots of other works where, as Rosa said, we have all the pieces that we've made the work out of, and they exist as material fragments. So we retain those. But I think this, more than many of the others, they only make sense when you combine them in a certain way, live in space. And also, I think more than any other performance we've ever done, there really is nothing to look at here. It's just about being in that place. So it is very difficult, I think, for people to get a sense of it without actually having seen it or been in it. So it's not completely unusual for us, but I think it's probably the most extreme in that, I think.
Yeah.
En ese sentido, bueno, comentábamos que no es la primera vez que incluso lo presentáis aquí, y supongo que en Europa y en otros lugares también.
Aquí es la primera vez esta pieza en concreto.
En Bilbao.
En Bilbao. Sí, esta pieza es la primera.
Vale.
Hemos estado en Vitoria, estuvimos en Artium, pero esta en concreto en Bilbao sí que es la primera vez.
Vale. Y, por ejemplo, en Artium o en otros lugares ya lo habéis presentado. No sé si luego tenéis o habéis tenido posibilidad de hablar con algunos de los participantes, por llamarlos de alguna forma, ¿no? De algunos de los espectadores que estaban dentro del público, y qué os han podido transmitir, o si ha habido alguna, no sé, esa sensación, porque al final es una pieza muy sensitiva, ¿no? Cada uno realmente pensará, sentirá e imaginará una cosa diferente. No sé si habéis tenido un poco ese feedback con el público que ha venido, y qué es lo que esperáis que la gente que venga estos 2 días pueda sentir.
Pues en realidad casi todos los comentarios, o sea, en casi todos los sitios donde lo hemos hecho, tienen que ver con que la pieza lo que hace es crear espacio. Siempre nos dicen, es que la sensación que te da es que de repente tienes tiempo y puedes estar en ese sitio que se genera, ¿no? Y que no tienes como que de repente dejarte estar, ¿no? Es un comentario bastante común, ¿no? Y después que te deja mucho espacio para estar y empezar a divagar con tus cosas, ¿no? Luego es cierto también que nosotros dentro, una vez que reconstruimos este lugar de Gales, lo que hacemos es introducir un texto, un discurso, que siempre tiene que ver con cuestiones cosas científicas o expediciones o preguntas o pensamientos, reflexiones que tienen que ver con cosas desconocidas, ¿no? Y cómo los humanos nos cuestionamos lo que no conocemos, ¿no? Y cómo fallamos ante eso también, ¿no? Entonces, claro, también depende mucho de qué texto, qué discurso introducimos en ese lugar. Dirige un poco el pensamiento, ¿no? Al final de la pieza, ¿no?
La perspectiva que tiene el público de la
Eso
propia
es,
pieza,
¿no?
Claro.
Entonces, al principio, toda la primera parte es esa parte, ¿no? En la que parece que no está pasando nada y poco a poco la gente se deja estar, se deja llevar, porque claro, al principio, en muchos de nuestros trabajos pasa, ¿no? Que al principio hay como una especie de ansiedad porque no sabes muy bien qué es la cosa, ¿no? Y de repente te das cuenta, bueno, la cosa es estar aquí, ¿no?
Pero es que en el fondo a lo mejor, Rosa, estoy pensando que la única forma de descontextualizar para recontextualizar pasa por la transformación del tiempo, es decir, por crear una distorsión en el tiempo, porque si no el propio tiempo te marca también como una pauta muy constrictiva de cómo te acercas a un contexto, ¿no?
Sí, y ahí, o sea, cómo te acercas a un contexto y también cómo... Sí, la cuestión de la eficacia también, de decir, bueno, yo estoy aquí, he venido a esto, y empiezas a buscar eso, pero a lo mejor no es eso lo que te vas a encontrar, a lo mejor es otra cosa la que te vas a encontrar. Y claro, romper esa dinámica, el tiempo y la rítmica ayuda mucho a eso, ¿no? Digamos, romper el ritmo con el que uno viene, ¿no? Y de repente decir, uff, no es ese ritmo, es que aquí hay otro ritmo, ¿no? O a lo mejor no hay ni ritmo, ¿no? Entonces, sí que es verdad que el tiempo es una herramienta muy, muy útil, ¿no? Para romper hábitos, para romper dinámicas, claro.
In that sense, maybe we're talking about time, but the place is an important thing to think about it also, because you've said it, in this performance people has to be in there. And what I think about that, in that sense, is that in our everyday life we are, but we don't have even time, or even we're not capable of thinking that we are being in a place. We just pass through places, isn't it? So maybe it can be also an interesting experience for that people who come to see you, that for once they'll have just time to think about where they are, or just to be in a place, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always part of the work. I think we work a lot with place and the way that we in our everyday lives perform the places that we live in, but also how they become so familiar to us that we stop realising how much they're defined by the way we decide to be in them. And part of the work is always to refresh that perspective, I think. And I think we try to create situations with the work where that becomes apparent again, and people just start to recognise that process, and just refresh the way that they think about the way that they, as well as us, are shaping and performing that place for that period of time.
Okay. Well, so we are looking forward to see your performance and to introduce completely in your Wales universe in Bilbao. So thank you so much to participate in the radio. You are the second one. So we are less and less trying to find the hot way to do this radio.
Yeah.
Good luck tomorrow and after tomorrow. Thank you.
It's very. I just want to say one thing. I think it's very. I don't like very much to talk in public, and I have enjoyed this very much. And I think it's a good way to kind of also get to warm up into the festival for ourselves, for the artists. So it's been like that for me. I just want to say.
One goal, a Kiev.
Gracias.